Hi everyone, today we're tackling a hot topic. Did Jesus teach a subordinationist Christology in the Gospel of John? Specifically, what does it mean in John 14:28, where Jesus says, "The Father is greater than I"? Does that mean that Jesus is an inferior being? Maybe he's a lesser heavenly creature than God the Father? Or does it mean he's just a human being? An earthly Messiah, a mere prophet who recognizes that the Father is God and he is not. That's what we're going to look at in this video. Let's look at this enigmatic saying of Jesus and where it's located. It's found in the Johannine farewell discourse, where Jesus comforts his troubled disciples, explaining the reason for his impending departure. And he tells them, "If you loved me, you would be glad that I am going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I." But what does that mean? Now, some people do take it to mean that Jesus is a lesser being than God the Father. Either he's a lesser God or he's just a mere human. And they add to this verse in John's Gospel other passages in the New Testament, like Colossians 1:15, where it says, "The Son is the firstborn of all creation." Or they look at 1 Corinthians 15, verses 24 to 28, where it says, "The Son will hand the kingdom over to the Father." And they take these three passages as a trinity of subordinationism. John, Colossians, 1 Corinthians, indicating that Jesus is clearly subordinated or inferior to God the Father. He's a lesser being with a lesser mission. But is that what is really going on here? Does John 14:28 commit us to a subordinationist Christology where Jesus is a lesser being than God the Father? Is this even a license for the Arian heresy, which was a controversy that emerged in the 4th century that taught that Jesus was a heavenly figure, but he was not eternal and he was not divine in the same way as God the Father? That is what is at stake in how you understand this verse in the Gospel of John. So is John saying that Jesus is in something of an inferior creature subordinated to God the Father's will, which is why the Father is greater than the Son? Well, to answer that, I think we've got to pan back a little bit and look at the wider sweep of John's Gospel. I mean, if you go to the prologue, the very opening words say that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Now, I don't think John is saying that Jesus, the Word, is an inferior type of deity, as if he's divine-ish or divine-esque. I think he's saying what is true of God is true of the Word. Indeed, the very analogy of word, like a word coming from the mind, indicates a type of distinction because your words and your mind are not the same, but also the words that come from the mind are something that have been generated out of the mind. That very language of the Word of God indicates a type of agency, a type of action on behalf of God, but it's rooted in who God is himself. Now, we could also point out other things as we go across John's Gospel. In several places, we're told that Jesus is equal with God. In fact, he's equal with God to the point that he's accused of blasphemy. I mean, they want to stone him because he's making himself equal with God. Jesus claims to be one with the Father. He says the Father indwells him and he indwells the Father. He shares in God the Father's eternity, glory, love. He exercises some of God's roles in judgment and salvation. And importantly as well, we're told that people should honor the Son as they honor the Father. Now, this is a truly remarkable statement because you honor the Father, the God of Israel, with worship, don't you? You offer God veneration. And if you offer that worship or veneration to a creature, that would be idolatry. That would be blasphemy. To give the worship, the honor that is rightly due God, anything inferior or lesser or created would be blasphemy. I mean, on a scale of blasphemy and heresy, it would be like a 19.8, which is all the more remarkable because it's only meant to go up to 10. And yet, John says people should honor the Son as they honor the Father. So let's do a little recap there. We've got this opening statement in the Gospel of John. In the very prologue, Jesus is the Word of God who was God, who is with God. And we've got that word analogy, both an agent of God, yet something whose very origin comes from God himself. We're told that Jesus is equal with God, one with God, mutually indwelt by God, and people should honor the Son as they honor the Father. So what does it mean then to say that the Father is greater than I on the lips of Jesus? Well, I don't think it's teaching a type of Arian Christology where Jesus is an inferior, albeit heavenly being. I don't think it's even a subordinationist Christology going on here. Rather, I think it's referring to the greatness of the Father with respect to a specific state that Jesus has entered in. As the Word become flesh, as the Son who has been sent by the Father, in that sense, the Father is greater, because Jesus has added humanity to his divine being. He has entered into what we call a state of humility and humiliation as the one who is eventually going to be crucified on the cross. He is also someone who is exercising or executing his messianic office and achieving the will of the Father. So in that sense, the sense of incarnation, the sense of humility, the sense of his messianic office, viewed that way, the Father is greater. But I don't think this is a statement of the Son's inherent inferiority or eternal subordination to God the Father. And rather than use the language of subordination, I prefer to speak of the Son's divine self-distinction. Jesus is divine alongside God the Father, but there is a distinction in his person, there is a distinction in his mission, but not to the point where he is an inferior being or of a lesser species, because he is the begotten Son. He's not created, he's not made, he does not emanate. He is divine as the Son of God in the sense that a son has many of the attributes, the qualities, the prerogatives, the very same being as the Father who begat him. That's what I think it means when we hear Jesus say that the Father is greater than I. He is the eternal Word of God who deigns to become human, who enters into the state of humility and is obedient to the Father in his messianic office. That's what I think we should take away. It is divinity with distinction, not inferiority or subordination. So, does John 14:28, the Father is greater than I, does that support Arianism or subordinationism? No, I don't think it does, because I think the greatness is comparative. It's based on Jesus's incarnation, his state of humility, and his messianic mission. In that state, in that role, in that part of the relationship, the Father is greater. But in eternity past, in the sense of his being, he is equal with the Father and worthy of the worship that God the Father receives. But what do you think? What do you surmise about Jesus saying the Father is greater than I? Let me know in the comments below. We'll put there any questions and I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, if you want to know more about early Christology, you might want to check out my book, Jesus Among the Gods. But for something particularly on Johannine Christology, you might want to check out books like Paul Anderson's excellent volume, The Christology of the Fourth Gospel, or maybe you want to look at a collection of essays called Early High Christology, John Among the New Testament Writers, that's edited by Christopher Blumhofer, Diane Chen, and Joel Green. A little bit highbrow, but very, very good. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, check out some other content on the channel. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Early Christian History. Until then, take care.